My name is Wil Davies. I was born and raised in the mountains of Wales. I've dedicated my life to travel and adventure. 8 years ago, I decided to travel to the Philippines. The Philippines is made up of over 7,000 islands. It is located just north of the equator between the South China Sea and Pacific Ocean. It has an estimated population of 98 million, 95% of which are Roman Catholic. Filipinos are extremely religious and also superstitious, with a huge number of them believing in what is called Aswang. Hi, I'm Wil Davies, adventure cyclist and traveler. And I'm here in Cebu City in the Philippines, where I came to see the Santo Niño Church, which is behind me. Now, I've just heard the story of a man who's become a legend. He's become a legend because he allows himself to be crucified every Good Friday during the Holy Week celebration. Now, I don't know where he is, but I intend to find out and find out why. So you join me in the quest to find the man on the cross. It's Holy Tuesday today, and I have only a few days to find Gilbert. I think the best way to find him is to talk to the locals. Most, but not all Filipinos speak good English. Oh. You speak English?
No.
You don't speak English?
No.
Oh. How did you understand me? And they're easily confused.
Taboylan Town?
Tabualan
Yeah,
Town.
next to Taboylan Town.
Okay, and that's where he lives. I must have asked 100 people, and I was also starting to get confused. And just when I'd lost all hope of getting a confident answer... Excuse me, you speak English?
Yes, I can.
What I want to do, I'm looking for a man called Gilbert Pagayo.
Gilbert, I live in Taka, Cebu City. Southwest Terminal.
Southwest Terminal on City Line.
City Line, oh.
Okay?
Okay.
That's great. Salamat, thank you very much, that's great, thanks. Feeling optimistic, I headed to the bus terminal. While sat on the bus, I couldn't help but wonder what this man would look like and why he would subject himself to such a painful ordeal. Here I am, I've just arrived in Kharkov. Now, next thing I've got to do is locate Gilbert. My plan? Ask any tricycle driver, because this legend is going to be known by everybody. I proceeded to the tricycle pickup point, and just as I suspected, the driver knew who Gilbert was and agreed to take me to him. This was it. I was finally about to meet the legend. Hello? Hello? Anybody home? I'm looking for Gilbert Perego.
Yeah, I'm Gilbert.
You are? Oh,
Yes.
hey, sir, it's a pleasure to meet you. I've just come from Banilad in Cebu City, and I went to the Santo Niño, and then I came here, and I've been trying to find you.
What is your name?
Wil Davies. So I just want to ask you a few questions about Holy Week and this coming Good Friday. So how many times have you been crucified?
19 years already.
Once a year for 19 years. Where did it begin?
It's my dreaming.
I asked Gilbert what happened in his dreams. He told me that when he was 16, Jesus began to visit him and instructed him to change his sinful ways and charged him with the task of being annually crucified. There are many individuals and stories in the Bible that claim people experiencing such phenomenon. God spoke to Moses through a burning bush, and Noah, who God instructed to build an ark. He said the dreams were physically painful and that they scared him. And I'm not surprised. Being nailed to the cross is painful, to say the least. And in front of me, I could see the tools that would be used to do it. When Gilbert is crucified, he wears a costume. The plant's barbs are sharp and it is very painful to wear. His mallet is made from hardwood, and the same one has been used every year since his first crucifixion. The nails he uses are stainless steel, and over the years have been ground down and modified. Finally, he has a knife fashioned to look like a spear of destiny. This is used to slice his chest and has left him with multiple scars. Oh wow, yeah, you can see them real clear, can't you?
There's also very many.
Is it painful when they do that, or?
Yeah, it's very pain.
Honorio Carpintero had nailed Gilbert for the past 19 years. Unfortunately, this year he passed away, leaving Gilbert's nephew with the responsibility. When I saw Gilbert's hands and feet, I was amazed at how small and how few scars there were. He has been nailed 19 times, 4 nails per crucifixion. That means he's had 56 nails driven through his flesh. Gilbert practices faith healing and claims to have cured people's sicknesses. Recently, I had a CT scan because of a cycling accident, and aside from broken bones, the scan revealed 2 growths on my thyroid. I told Gilbert about it, and he agreed to try to heal me on Good Friday after the crucifixion. The next day, I caught the bus to Tuburan. I just got a newspaper with an article on Gilbert. Bagayo, 20th cross in Tuburan. Bagayo, who has been submitting himself to live crucifixion every Good Friday since the 1990s, will repeat his agony using real nails tomorrow in Tuburan town, northwest Cebu. He said he dreamed of reenacting Jesus' death on the cross when he was 17 years old, while still mired in vices like drugs and alcohol. I've read the article, but I'm really interested in finding out the truth on the biblical story.
On the morning of Good Friday, as we read in the 4 Gospels, we have this account of Jesus is being brought to Pilate, the Roman governor in Judea. The Jewish authorities handed him over to Pontius Pilate to be sentenced by crucifixion because they said that this man, Jesus Christ, was a man who tried to break the tradition of the Jewish people, and they incited the crowd, to have Jesus crucified because he was a rebel and he blasphemed God because he claimed to be the Son of God. That's why Pilate wanted to release Jesus, because he said, I do not find anything that this man would be guilty and of being put to death. The crowd insisted and they said, crucify him, crucify him. Because of the pressure of the crowd, Pilate handed him over to them to be crucified.
Before being crucified, Jesus was lashed and forced to wear a crown of thorns.
When Jesus was presented to the crowd by Pilate, he was really sweating, not just sweat. He carried his own cross. But sensing that he could no longer carry his own cross because he was so weak, they seized a man from Cyrene called Simon of Cyrene to help Jesus carry his own cross until they reached the place of crucifixion.
Once arriving at the place of crucifixion, Jesus is nailed to the cross.
The death of our Lord on the cross was an ordinary death given to a criminal according to the Roman law. Jesus hung on the cross for 3 hours, sensing that they were about to die. One of the soldiers thrust his lance on his side, and then suddenly blood and water flowed out.
I was eager to find out the health risks associated with Gilbert's crucifixion, so I headed to Tuburan Hospital to get a professional opinion.
If this hand is to be nailed to the cross, there are areas that has to be avoided, because if it hits this area, there will be massive bleeding. Right. First and foremost is the radial artery here, and the second is the ulnar artery here, and maybe in the wrist you could hit vital structures, the median nerve. On the other hand, if you nail it and you want it to be more less dangerous, put the nail in between these two fingers, the third and the fourth finger, in the middle, in between the bones. If he hits the bone, there will be fracture of the bone, and there will be also injury to the tendons on top of these bones. It will cause permanent damage afterwards due to contractions.
Tuburan is a small but vibrant coastal market town that would soon be the scene of the Good Friday spectacle. I'm at the epicenter here in Tuburan, usually a bus station, a tricycle pickup area, and a marketplace. However, this weekend, thousands and thousands of people are going to be gathered here in this square to see the crucifixion, which is going to take place on this very stage being constructed behind me. But what I'm curious to find out is what the public think about it. Excuse me, Ghost, can I ask you a couple of questions? We're doing a documentary this week on the crucifixion with Gilbert Abrego. And what I'd like to find out is what people on the street actually think. So, when you see his crucifixion, how does it affect you?
For me, it's very sad. I'm very emotional about it. It reminds me of a real Jesus Christ crucifying for our sins.
How about you?
For me, if I look at him, Sir Gilbert Rigo, yeah, I feel sad because it's a real man on the cross, right?
For
And
sure.
very painful, right?
Simon and Edwin. Edwin, which role will you be playing tomorrow?
Istas.
Istas.
Yeah.
And Simon?
Dimas.
Amos. So, tomorrow, can you just give me a quick run through on how it will be for you?
Tomorrow we will assist with the cross carrying, and after that we will be tied to the other crosses.
Why did you volunteer to do this?
I volunteered to do this because I want to make the sacrifice for my faith.
So far, I'd met a lot of people, and now it was time to meet the last character in the story. You've done this many times. How many times actually have you done it?
For 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
And what was your role before?
I just whip it and kick it him.
So you were whipping him and kicking him?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what happened to the previous guy who was nailing Gilbert?
He passed away last year.
He passed away last year.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling now?
Yeah, I feel honored.
I'd had a busy day, so I went down to the beach to think about the people I had met and the things I had heard. I met with a doctor today, and he told me there are several risks facing Gilbert. Tendon damage, bone damage, possibly hitting an artery, but the big one is infection. Now, if we couple this with Renate's first time nailing him, there is a definite risk to Gilbert's health. And the general consensus is that Gilbert getting crucified reminds them of Jesus' sacrifice upon the cross for the sins of mankind. And this really helps to strengthen their belief in Jesus. I came on this quest looking for the man on the cross. I'd hate to see anything happen to him because he's let me into his life. And we're now only 12 hours away from the celebrations of Good Friday. The next morning I met with Gilbert. He looked different. Then I realized he'd dyed his beard. I asked him if he was nervous. He said he wasn't, and that he would just pray in preparation. But what I didn't realize was what he had in store for me.
Well, I'll give it to you this. It's your like to be Simon.
Oh.
This is for you. I will give it to you this so that you are look like a Bob Marley.
As you can see, Gilbert has dropped a bombshell on me. He's asked me to take the part of Simon of Cyrene and to take the cross from stations 5 to 6 during today's crucifixion parade. I'm absolutely terrified. There's no joke about it. The weather is overcast, thank goodness, but I really am honored to do this. This is a big honor because I'm the first Westerner ever to take part in this parade. Before we leave, Gilbert has one final prayer. This is it. There is no going back for any of us. When I arrived in the town square, it began to dawn on me what I'd let myself in for. The crowds already started to arrive, and so had my nerves. Well, I'm here, I'm changed. I'm very nervous. Gilbert is in the vehicle behind me. He doesn't want to be disturbed. This is his final mental preparation. We start in about 10 minutes. And I'm just really nervous. Gilbert lifts the cross and begins the journey, followed by the procession. The cross looked heavy, and I could see that Gilbert was struggling with its weight. And if that wasn't enough, Renate was really whipping and kicking him. After 20 minutes or so, Gilbert, exhausted and fatigued, stayed behind, leaving Simon, Edwin, and myself to finish the carrying. As I carried the cross, I couldn't help but think how hard it must be for Gilbert. I was charged with carrying the cross just 200 meters. Gilbert, 2 to 3 kilometers. That would take some serious endurance and willpower, especially in this hot and humid tropical climate. Finally, I completed my station and was relieved to drop the cross. Happy to be dressed in my own clothes, I watched on as Edwin and Simon were tied to their crosses in nothing more than a pair of shorts. It was a hot day, and being exposed to the sun like this is dangerous. An hour had passed when suddenly I heard a lot of commotion, so I went to investigate. Edwin, one of the villains, passed out while on the cross. Now he's right behind me and you can see he's very pale. The nurses are with him right now and we're waiting to see what the outcome is going to be. It seems my fears had been realized and the sun had got the better of Edwin. He was swiftly carried to an emergency vehicle and rushed to Tuberan Hospital for treatment. Suddenly there was a change in atmosphere and Gilbert appeared from the crowd. Once on the cross, Gilbert spreads his arms and prays to God for strength. Renate lines up the nail in the target area and swings. Gilbert cries out in pain. The second nail is struck once, twice, 3 times. Then Renate steps forward to nail his feet. First the left foot. And then the right foot. Finally, his chest is cut, and he hangs in the midday sun. Renate begins to remove the nails. He starts with the hands. It looks as painful as when the nails were hammered in. Gilbert has done it. He has fulfilled his mission, at least for another year. He washes his wounds in the ocean so that the salt water will clean them. Remarkably, he has not sustained any serious damage and hopefully will not get an infection. After the crucifixion, I visited the resort where Gilbert was staying, and to my surprise, he was there along with Edwin and Simon. Edwin told me he couldn't remember fainting, just getting onto the cross and then being at the hospital. Gilbert kept to his word and agreed to try and heal me. He placed his hands on my head and quietly prayed. His hands then dropped just below my throat, the location of my thyroid with a suspected tumor. He gently rubbed the area and then placed both hands on my head and blessed me. 3 weeks later, I headed back to Karkar to see how Gilbert was recovering. Hi, Gilbert. It's good to see you again. 3 long weeks.
Yeah. Long time no see.
It is a long time no see, and the weather's getting much hotter.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how you've healed up the hands and the feet.
It's already okay, my hands and my hands.
Yeah, you can see there's virtually no scars.
There's a little scars, but I can already move.
For
Yeah.
mobility. How about the feet?
It's okay, my feet. I already move. Even the right foot is moved like a mini bloods to remove. 4 days, I wear already shoes.
You see, we're wearing shoes after 4 days.
Yeah.
You know, just recently, while I was in the city, I was reading in the newspaper about a chapel that you have, that you're building. And I was just wondering if we could sometime today go take a look at it, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, it's okay.
So, Gilbert, here we are. This is the chapel. So, why did you build the chapel?
I built this chapel. It's for my souvenir. I already passed away,
Right.
so that the people can know for my sacrifice, for my 20 sacrifices already.
This year was year 19. Next year's year 20. To me, that would be a good year to say stop.
Maybe I will be continue 10 to 20 to more than 20 years. If I have a good health given to me, God's only the knows.
I found Gilbert. My quest is now just about ended. I saw a live crucifixion, which I questioned at first. But now, having seen it, I really, really do believe the man is completely sincere. And all I can say is that I'm really, really touched. The sincerity, the reality of it, it just was overwhelming at some point. So I came, I found him, I saw the crucifixion, and I believe that the man has got the deepest, profound belief in his faith. Filipinos are extremely religious and also superstitious, with a huge number of them believing in what is called Aswang. In 1521, Ferdinand Magellan, Captain General of the Spanish fleet, discovered the Philippines. And then in 1565, Miguel Legazpi founded Cebu, and he built this very fort, San Pedro. As Filipinos were converting to Catholicism, then began the church's demonization of their indigenous pagan beliefs. And these included healers and shamans. Now, modern day historians conclude that this was the beginning of the myth of the Aswang. It's not unusual for Aswang stories to make the news. Only recently, in Maguindanao, there were reports of several attacks, and some even died. Muslima and her husband Abdullah Guradad were walking to market early one morning when Muslima was attacked by a very large dog. Now the dog bit her on the nape of the neck and then on her upper arms. Abdullah withdrew his machete and struck the dog several times, only to realize it was like hitting a stone. The dog turned its attention on Abdullah, bit him on the legs. After the attack, the couple made a report to the police. News broke out about the attack, and people got scared. They stopped letting their children go out at night, and they began to heavily guard pregnant women, gathering up sharpened bamboo poles, machetes, knives, and even firearms to protect the pregnant women from losing the babies from the womb. Also, they were putting salt and garlic on the windows to scare off the Aswang. I'm doing research into Aswang. What is an Aswang to you?
I think it's like a ghost.
In my own opinion, an aswang is a very, very long hair.
And it has a long wing.
It's a creepy, face.
Where would I go to find an Aswang?
You can find aswang in Siquijor.
In Siquijor.
Yeah, but before you go to Siquijor, I'm warning you. Yeah, for example, when somebody give you something to eat or to drink, just be cautious because it's really dangerous in Siquijor.
Sounds like good advice.
Siquijor Island.
Maybe in Siquijor Island, and then lots of witches also there.
After a rough journey across stormy seas, it felt good to finally disembark the boat. As I walked along the pier, I couldn't help but think why the Spaniards called Siquijor the Island of Fire. But as I gazed across the water at its shoreline, I too felt as if the island had a mysterious aura. Its mountainous forests and the mist that cling to them are indeed both beautiful and enchanting. Siquijor is famous for its supernatural folk, something which the tourism industry has embellished. Hey, good afternoon.
Sir.
Siquijor is famous for all its potions, magic potions, love potions. And have you got any I could have a look at?
This one is a massage oil and a love potion.
So this one is the healing, and this one is for, obviously,
For
love
love.
making. You know, what's in it, first of all? What is this?
I don't know what it inside. I don't know what herbs they put it.
Where will I find out about these?
They're in the mountain. They're in San Antonio.
I got two potions, healing potion, love potion. I know where they come from in the mountains, and they're made by the very healers that I've come in searching for. So next stop, San Antonio. I was on my way to San Antonio when I saw two large palms. This is a good place to make camp. With daylight fading and a storm coming, time is of the essence. After setting up my hammock, I headed to a nearby bar. I asked the locals about the healers, but no one had any information. I was about to turn in for the night when my attention was drawn to an elderly gentleman sat outside. He looked like he had seen a lot in his years and hopefully would have some good advice. My name is Wil. I'm here in Sikiho researching black magic. Do you have any experience of that?
I have experience black magic.
Do you know anybody who could help me with it?
Oh, yes.
Because I've heard in San Antonio in the mountains that
Yes, tomorrow.
we could go tomorrow. Shinzu, what a guy. Has experience of black magic, has given me a lead, and knows somebody in a place called San Antonio in the mountains. And tomorrow morning has agreed to take me up there. But now, I'm gonna go get a good night's sleep. Category 1 tropical storm. I didn't see it coming. It blew hard, it rained, I didn't sleep very much, and I got soaked. However, this morning it's dry, I got clean clothes on. Now I'm heading out to meet Shinzu and travel up into the mountains. Alfred, where did you learn your skills?
I learned to make medicine from my auntie. It's been 20 years since my auntie and I have been collecting herbs to make medicine. We make two different kinds of medicine. One for healing, the other for harming. We also make potions to protect ourselves from bad shaman. We make all these potions during Good Friday and Good Saturday. I can bring you some of my potions.
So this is the medicine.
Healing.
Really? Cheers.
Okay.
Yeah, like a wood and coconut. When I tried the shot of the wood medicine, it tasted of coconut and wood, but the essence of it was just overwhelmingly sweet. Alfred, can you tell me what this is?
Flowers.
This type of medicine is used to treat skin disease and open wounds. It is also used to drive away bad spirits.
I have a illness. Can you show me on here, on my eye? When Alfred brought out the wood smoke in the coconut husk, it reminded me of times with the Native Americans and the Plains Indians. Now, they use it for cleansing and spiritual stuff. And these cultures are thousands of miles apart, but yet there's a similarity between them when it comes to healing. Thanks for the healing there, Alfred. Can you tell me more about the Baran?
I don't know about that. I only have my own style.
After meeting with Alfred, I headed back up the hill and sat in the jeepney. To my surprise, Sinju came up the hill accompanied by Alfred. Alfred explained to me that he was willing to show me the dark side of Barang, but couldn't in the presence of his family. He said that to see it, I would have to meet him in a secret place and bring a bahag bahag. To catch a bahag bahag, you have to search the beach whilst the tide is out. And unfortunately for us, low tide is at night. In order to hunt, Sinju and I have fashioned native torches using dry coconut leaves. Walking in the dark is dangerous. The small pools of water are not just home to the bahag bahag, but also to a variety of dangerous animals. Sea snakes, jellyfish, cone snails, and even the blue-ringed octopus. One wrong step and I could be in big trouble. We searched and searched, and I started to wonder if we were ever going to find one. I got one, quick! I got one! After a long jungle trek through the mountains, we finally arrived at the secret location. Alfred, can you explain to me exactly what this ceremony is and show me how it works?
This is how to do the barang. First, I will fold the picture and insert it into the bahag bahag.
Normally, Alfred would use a photograph or a possession of somebody you'd want to barang. We don't want to hurt anyone, so he's going to use this sketch for today's ceremony.
Please help. Insert. I got it. Very slippery.
Let me help. I hold.
Please hold.
When
When the bahag bahag dries out in the sun, the person in the picture will die.
Dead ball. Alfred is willing to show me how to use a voodoo doll. Now, what he will not show me is how to make one. And the reason being, he does not want the knowledge to get into the wrong hands.
My uncle used to do this and he called it a plek. He is the one who taught me. Stabbing the voodoo doll, you must say, "This person will die." This person will die. this person will die.
And you're using a fishbone there.
Yes. This person will die.
And then to the larynx.
If this person has sinned, I can do this to a plague. If they go to hospital, they cannot be cured. This person will die. Only herbal medicine from us can cure it.
I would not like to be on the receiving end of either of these death curses. After being stuck on the island due to tropical storms, it was good to finally board the boat. As I look back, I reflected on my adventures and felt very lucky to have experienced something so special. But now, back on the mainland, I must forget the past and continue on my quest. That morning, Sinju invited me to his house for breakfast. He even killed one of his chickens, and after we ate, I thought it was time to pop the question. As you know, I'm here searching for the Aswang. Do you know an Aswang, or do you even have any experiences of Aswang?
I have a friend that sometimes play jokes on me. When he smile, his mouth grew really wide, and his eyes turned totally white. When the full moon came, starting at 8 p.m., he would leave and disappear. That is why I'm afraid of him. If you want to... shall we go now?
So here we go. This is where I'm actually going to meet an Aswang. Good morning, Titing. Good morning. It's nice to meet you. My first impression of Titing was how short he was. And then there was something different about him. And what I suddenly realized was his eyes, almost like a blind man. I'm sat here this morning with Titing, and he's agreed to an interview and tell us about his life and of his experiences of a rare gift he has. Titing, can you tell me when you discovered in your life that you were an Aswang?
The first time I changed it, I was 15. I transformed into a cat. Tonight I will transform again. Every night I transform and wounded. And I go searching for something. I thought perhaps I'm an Aswang because sometimes I came home and my mouth was covered in blood. I'm really an Aswang. Some people stay away from me, but I am always friendly to them. I wish I was normal like everyone else.
Myth has it, Titing, that Aswangs are afraid of salt and garlic. Are you afraid of salt and garlic?
We Aswang have, many different transformations. Some fly, some others, like me, walk, and an Aswang, like me, will not be afraid of salt or garlic.
And how do you feel also about holy water?
I'm not afraid of holy water. However, some other are. But if it gets onto my skin, it really burns.
As an Aswang, do you heal quicker when you get hurt or sick?
When I get wounded, I simply use my oil. It helps me easily.
Can I see the oil?
Here it is.
Oh.
This is the oil. Can you see?
Yeah.
Here it is.
Ah, so this is the oil.
Yeah.
And you need to keep it here.
Yeah. It contains tawas tapos.
For protection.
For protection and for when I wanted. When I'm hit, I feel nothing. Because of the oil. Even if someone tries to poison me, it will not work because of the oil. If someone gives me a poisoned glass of water, the glass will break.
Now that the interview with Taiting has been concluded, the question is he real? Is he unreal? I looked into his eyes and his face, and there was an aura about him. And then he showed me the oils he carries for healing himself. It was at that point, for me, I go on the side to say, Taiting is the real thing.